Well, I'm back at Pitaka with my little doggies, and you can tell by the snow on the ground that it's still winter. It's actually February 22nd, and it's going to be pretty cold, but the weather is pretty nice. And the last time I was here last fall, I had to leave prematurely because a big rainstorm was coming in. But right before I left, in this wash, I found a specimen, a hot specimen right here. And I can tell this is my spot because of the tailings, and it's familiar to me. So as soon as I walked up here and saw that hole, I said, I need to pay real close attention because there may be more close by. And sure enough, I'm sure there's one right here under these big rocks. You can tell first I'm going to have to move some rocks. I remember the last one over there was deep in a crevice between a bunch of big rocks. So I had to move a bunch of big rocks before I could finally get into that crevice. And hopefully this will be a little bit easier. Well, so far, you don't want to budge. Let's see who's going to give first. There's one. Okay. And that means this one will probably move. Okay. Whew. Okay. Yeah, this one's starting to wiggle. Whew. Yeah, it seems to be under this big rock. So it's got to come out first. There we go. Oh, come on. Well, it just appears to be a big piece of country rock. It has something in it. Now this is interesting because this is actually very similar to one that I found a couple of years ago that was about this big, and it was black and white striped. It had layers of black and white rock, and it was full of thorium, and it was, you know, not screaming hot, but it was quite hot. And this one looks similar. I see a bunch of layers on it, and it may be a similar type of rock. Interesting. So this is what it looks like in the sunlight. I used a little bit of snow to clean it off, not very effectively, but you can see the black and the light areas and the dark areas, the layers in this rock. And this is exactly like that rock that I found that was really hot, and I pushed it aside thinking there's a specimen underneath it, but it turned out to be the rock itself. And this is the same case here. I thought it was a localized specimen, and it turned out to be this monster rock. Now this is too big for me to carry very far, so I'm gonna leave it here as a marker for somebody else to find. And since I can't take this rock with me, I'm going to go ahead and do a gamma spec of it, because that rock that I found previously was a thorium-based radioactivity. So this is how I collect the data, and I'll collect a number of samples, and then I'll be able to generate the graph with a spreadsheet, and let's see what it looks like. Yes, it has that exact thorium shape to it, so I'm pretty sure that this is very similar, or if not identical, to that specimen that I found previously. So that's pretty exciting. Well, it's late afternoon here. Been a beautiful day, and I actually walked several miles this morning without getting a single hit, because I was surveying a new area. So to make up for it, I came down to a spot that I had found specimens before, so I knew I'd find another. And sure enough, I think I've got one here. Oh, let's see what I can find here pretty quickly. See if I've moved it already. Yep, I've moved it. one of these here. There we go. Yeah, this is a nice little rock. It's got some crystal faces on it. And it's quite hot. So I would imagine that this is not the usual columbite I find out here. It's more likely a euxenite. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a gamma spec of it. So this is what it's like when I'm collecting the data. And I'll show you the graph here momentarily because I have to do it on my camera. So here's the crystal, and it's a nice one. It's got nice crystal faces. This is a complete crystal, and you can see by the gamma spec that it's got the characteristic uranium decay chain. So this is almost certainly a euxenite based on how hot it is. I don't think that this would be a columbite, but I'll find out when I get home. Well, this is a little of a nice surprise. If you were looking closely, you might have noticed the reddish color up here on this corner. And I just observed it and thought, I wonder if that's monazite that's combined with this euxenite down here. And so I did another gamma spec with placing this corner right next to the crystal. And now you can see on the gamma spec, if you imagine that is your left hand and the big peak on the right is your thumb, the ring finger is exceptionally large compared to a normal uranium gamma spec. And that is the thorium, one of the thorium peaks, 238 keV. And so that is a definitive evidence that this is monazite here in a combination with euxenite. So that is a really nice, especially nice find. So it looks like it's going to be another beautiful day here in Pitaka. The sun's just coming up, and I thought that I would show you my camping setup that allows me to come out to these remote places and stay comfortably for, a week if I want. And you'll remember from my previous videos, my 2016 red Ford Expedition, and I liked it so much that I decided I needed another one. And so I got a new one that has all the neat safety features and self-driving and everything that makes these long trips more tolerable. I got a little solar panel to keep the battery trickle charged, and I fixed it up inside to make the storage as efficient as possible. So I built this platform out of plywood with some piano hinges so that I can access the back seats. And you can see I've got a full 8 feet by 4 feet of easy storage. I can slide my bins in and out of here. And but after I've got everything set up, I really don't need to access the car anymore because I've got it all out here in this tent. Let me see, this is a Napier tent, And it's designed to attach directly to the back of the expedition. And you can see it makes it really convenient and comfortable. The tailgate becomes a nice platform for the oven and the water and stuff. I've got another table here for food preparation and all. And then, of course, a cot with very warm bedding because it gets well below freezing here this time of the year, which is February. And I've even got a spot under here for my doggies. And they get covered up at night as well, so they're comfortable. So that's my setup. I've got a bunch of gamma dogs with me as always, and I think we're gonna have another nice day here in Pitaka, and I'm at the red mine today, and I'm right here on the edge. After a walk from my campsite, and as soon as I got to the edge, and mind you, I've been scanning the entire time on the way here and not got a single hit, but as soon as I get to the edge of this, I get my first really nice hit in 2 days. So let me see what I've got here. So the red mine is known for columbite and monazite and exquisite combinations of the two. There have been some really beautiful specimens come out of here. So I plan on spending a number of hours here today because I'm tired of not finding stuff. I spent the past 2 days basically finding one specimen and one hot spot that's frozen, and I'm waiting for it to thaw so I can dig it. So, but let's see what we got here. It should be really easy to find. It's soft. All right. I've already moved it. There we go. So let's see what we got here. I think it's probably a piece of monazite, but yeah, it's got good crystal form. Nice termination. Yeah, it's not as hot as a euxenite would be. So you can see why they call this the red mine. There's some colorful stuff here. And there was a lot of violent movement here in this pegmatite. So this is the pegmatite, and the actual adit is over there. So I really didn't have much luck down below the mine. I think that place has been picked over pretty well, and even a number of people with gamma dogs have been down there. So the good stuff, the really easy pickings, is probably gone. So in that case, I tend to spread out to the peripheries and look for sites that maybe other people haven't been to. And this is actually not far from right up the hill. There's where I found that first nice specimen, and this one seems to be pretty localized, whereas down there I was just finding dispersed hot spots. Let's see if I can move this pretty quick. No. That's what you like to hear. You like to hear it get hotter as you dig, and hotter quickly, as opposed to these dispersed spots that may get a little hotter, but they don't get hot fast enough. I know that's kind of vague, but you get used to the sounds your instrument makes. When you're close to finding a specimen. Yeah, see how it just gets hotter and hotter. And there's nothing coming out of the hole. That's good. That means it's not just a bunch of little pieces. It's probably a single specimen down here. Ooh, if that's it. Yep, that's it. That's a nice monazite crystal. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Got some nice crystal faces. And let's see if there's anything else down there. No, that was it. That was it. So, see what I mean? This guy's been sitting here, and this is actually tailings from the mine. So, it's probably been sitting here maybe 100 years, waiting for somebody to find it. And of course, once I find one specimen, then I search that area near it very closely, and sure enough, just right on the other side of this tree here was where I found that really nice specimen. And this one's not bad. This one was right on the surface. I didn't even have to dig for it. Well, that's beautiful. So right down there where the dogs are is where I found that first piece, and then right below the tree I found the second piece, and now I've got another right up the slope. There's appears to be all tailings. Right up the slope I found another one that's a nice piece of monazite. So this seems to be a pretty productive area. Wow, directly on the other side where what I call the main adit, there appears to be an even bigger one. It's a really deep hole, and right down there is where I found those monazites. So I'm going to check out this area in between very carefully. So I'm just working my way down the hill from that very first specimen that I found, and I was actually kind of headed back to the camp, and the dogs are down there, so I'm going to go pick them up. But on the way, I'm just checking anything downhill is promising. So I found another one of these pieces with the really flat, shiny side to it. Yeah, it's another nice monazite. So I'm still working my way down the hill, just scanning back and forth, you know, just like this. And when you find a hit, it sounds like that. Yeah, that's a good hit. I may have moved it already. Let me see. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. Let me get down here and see what I can find. Well, this turned out to be just a few small pieces, and there were actually more in that hole, but I decided it wasn't worth the effort. So here's the haul for today, this morning actually. And I decided to take the afternoon off because I've had really 3 very strenuous days, so I need to recuperate. But this was a nice haul to make up for my lack of finds the past couple of days. This was the big one that has a nice shiny flat side to it, and some nice crystal faces to it. So that's probably the best one, but there are a couple of others that are actually pretty nice too. This one's small, but it's got a good termination and good shape to it. Of course, these are monazites. There's a couple of others with some good faces to them. Now let's see. I think this was the very first one that I found, and it's got a very sharp termination here. That's pretty nice. So that's kind of what set me off to find the rest of these guys. And on top of that, there were a couple of small columbites in the mix. This one, and another piece over here. And so I'm happy with the morning, and finding all of these monazites is not a bad thing, because one of my dealers told me that he sells more monazites in terms of the radioactives. He sells more monazites than anything else, so they're evidently quite popular. So tomorrow I plan to go back down into that frozen wash and see if that hot spot that I found is thawed out yet. And I'm looking forward to finding out what that might yield. So it's my last day on this trip at Pitaka. And I mentioned yesterday that I was gonna go back to that frozen spot in the wash to try to dig out that hot spot. And so there's my camping spot. And so I decided, rather than follow the road down to the creek or to the wash, I would instead take a little cross country to see if I could find anything else by taking a different path. I mean, if you take the same path all the time, you're not going to find anything new. And I wasn't expecting really anything so close to the camp, because I haven't really found anything in the wash below here. But as I came across this little tiny wash, it comes down the hill here. Lo and behold, there's something down here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've literally walked miles in the first 2 days that I was here, and I found that one hot spot, and so it's just amazing. You do all this surveying all around for miles, and then right next to the camp you get a hit. So I don't know. You probably hear some coyotes. I was hearing them last night. Okay. Now this sounds pretty hot, so I don't think it's a columbite. I don't think it's a monazite. So that narrows it down. It's probably a euxenite. There it is. Or a very big columbite. This is pretty nice size. I think this is probably the biggest columbite or columbite, as my friend Steve Dubik calls it. This is probably the biggest one that I've found out here. They tend to be rather lumpy, but this one looks pretty pristine. And then it probably came out of the pegmatite exactly like this. Nice flat side over here. So let me see if there's any more of this stuff in this wash. So here's the next one that came out of the hole. And you can see it actually came out in two pieces. And what I always look for is, did I break this in digging it? And no, you can see that there's actually alteration rind on the fracture. So that means this this fracture happened eons ago, and it's just been sitting there in the hole waiting for me to find both pieces. That's always pretty cool. So my doggies and I have made it our way up the wash back to the spot that I marked with a rock cairn. And here's the frozen spot. Now there's a good deal of water there right now, so I'm hoping that it's thawed enough for me to dig it. So this is the first little piece that came out of there. It looks like it's a columbite because it's not very hot. Let me show you. Yeah, that's not very hot. So I think this is a columbite, but there's more down there. So I think I'll be able to dig it because it's just sloshy wet at this point. I'm going to just have to loosen the rocks and reach down with my hand into this icy water. And put it handful by handful in front of my gamma dog and see if I can pull something out of here. But there's some big rocks under here I'm probably going to have to move. Ooh, this is cold. This is kind of like that first piece that I pulled out of here on the last trip, and it was wedged down deep into some rocks. I had to spend a good amount of time removing those rocks before I could get to it. But it turned out to be a nice specimen, so it was worth the effort. Actually, I just spotted one, but it's so weak that I nearly missed it. So this would be another columbite, I'm sure. Columbite. So this may be just a little placer for columbites. Because that other specimen from the last strip was a lot hotter. I can't see what I'm doing here. Maybe. Oh. There's another one. There's another one. My tailings. They're just so weak that individually they hardly register. Huh. Well, it's interesting that the one hot spot that I find, I don't know how far I went up this wash, maybe a mile, and then I cut across to another area and surveyed it. Didn't get a single hot spot for like a day and a half. And then the one hot spot I find turns out to be a little placer for columbites. There's weird stuff going on here. So I used the app to set the squelch very sensitive. So we'll hear it growl a lot, but now I can be sure that I'm not going to miss anything. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get in here. It's definitely not as hot, or it seems to be not as hot as it was. I swear. Yeah, this looks like another piece that I just spotted. I'm finding them by sight. So, there's definitely not anything in here other than columbite, because it's just not. See, it's it's just a little placer of these little columbites. So, I think what happened was that eons ago, a little quartz conglomerate, a little piece of matrix came down and settled into this spot, and it was full of these little crystals, and then over the eons it dissolved and left the crystals. That's the only explanation I have for why there would be so many little crystals in one spot. It's just bizarre. So just to show you how cold it is, this is probably the first day that this is thawed enough to be dug here. And it turns out I can't dig very much anyway. Gosh, I'm gonna have to pull the rock out of here. I just don't know if I can do it. Now what I could do, it's so cloudy, the water's so cloudy that I can't really see what I'm doing. And if I would come back later, the water would be clear. And I could maybe see how to pull a rock out of here. If I pull one of these big rocks, this big rock here sticking out maybe. I wonder if it'll move. It's like this. It's these layers of rocks that are just wedged in here so tight. I don't think I can get it out here. Anyway, I think I've got enough out of here to satisfy my curiosity, and I'll leave this little rock cairn here for any adventurous rockhounder that comes in the future. So that those so-called frozen columbites were way up the wash there. So I'm come back to the camp, which is right over the ridge there, and right in this little wash was where I found those basically 3 hot rocks. 2 of them fit together. And so now I'm working my way down the hill here. I'm very carefully checking it out. And yeah, I think this is another one. Certainly localized and hot. So those of y'all who've watched some of my other videos know what an exceptional find this is, to find a virgin field of specimens that I can guarantee have never been found before. And so this is quite an adventure. After a couple of days of fruitless searching, this makes up for it in a big way. Oops, I think I see it already. There it is. Let's see. Yep. Okay, that's another hot one. It seems to be hotter than I would expect for a columbite. Huh. Okay. So this is what it looks like. And it certainly looks like the columbites that we found out here. But it just seems to be hotter than expected. But may have to wait till I get home to know for sure. Well, right on schedule, just a little bit further down, right there in the trees is where I found that last specimen. And here's another hot little guy. Once again, that just seems to be out of columbite territory. But yeah, looks like I found a very productive field here. So I'm back at the camp, gonna have some lunch, but I started playing around with these pieces that I found, and one thing I noticed is this dimpling, and the 2 pieces that I've already fit together and came out of the same hole, they also have the same dimpling, and that led me, sorry for the fly, that led me to try placing these together, and lo and behold, they fit perfectly. So this was one specimen, and what we have here is a cleavage. This isn't a fracture, this is a cleavage. See how flat these things are? So the thing broke along the crystal lattice. So that's pretty exciting. And see how it just fits together nicely. And of course, these two guys, they probably fractured. It doesn't look like a cleavage, but I'll have to look closer at it. So yeah, this is a real interesting find. And so definitely all of these are the same mineral. They're in fact the same specimen. Now, here is another one that came from very close by, and you see it has the same dimpling. So it's almost certainly the same mineral. And in addition, if you look at the side, you can actually see the growth pattern of this crystal. It looks like a cauliflower. See how the vertical striations there? Looks like this is the top of the cauliflower, and this is from the side. So that's a very interesting growth pattern, not like anything I've ever seen, especially in if this were columbite. I haven't really seen anything like that. So this is really exciting. And this was the other piece that I found very close by. And it looks a little different, but I think that I see some of the same striated growth pattern down there in the crevice, and here as well. So it'll be very interesting when I get these things home, and I XRF them to find out what they actually are, what mineral they actually are. So that's pretty exciting. Real nice morning, and I may stay another day just to do some more surveying and try to figure out where these things are coming from. So one thing you'll notice when you're out searching for these rare earth minerals is that frequently there's lots of quartz on the ground. And so, in fact, the presence of quartz is closely associated with these rare earth minerals because that's where they form. They form in these quartz, I call them outcroppings. And as the magma cools, the quartz actually crystallizes first and repels the elements that make up these rare earth minerals. And it actually pushes these elements out into smaller and smaller pockets until everything is crystallized except for the rare earth elements. And then they finally reach a certain temperature and pressure and they crystallize out. So they're the last things that crystallize in the pegmatite as far as I know. But what happens then is these rare earth crystals are trapped in the quartz, but the quartz weathers and breaks up and becomes smaller and smaller, and eventually will release the rare earth minerals, which have also been worked because of the radioactivity. They've also been working on the quartz, and they reach a certain point and are exposed, and they'll just pop right out of the quartz intact. So frequently you'll find the complete crystal, and then they begin their journey downhill along with the quartz, which continues to break up. Now sometimes the quartz will continue to hold on to these rare earth crystals, and I think we saw an example of that earlier today when I found that little pod of columbites. my little place where it was frozen, and I dug out all those little columbites. Well, that's probably a little block of quartz that made its way down to the wash before lodging there and eventually dissolving and breaking up to release the crystals. So that's my story about these quartz outcroppings. Whenever you're out searching for rare earth elements, look for them. They're a good sign, and maybe you'll find some rare earth minerals frequently around the edges where they've been banned from the center of the pegmatite.